Okay, so I'm going to set this little thing off to the side. And I'm waiting for Elliot as well to come on. And yeah, now you can, hopefully you can see the seascape well enough. So as far as the drawing goes, we're just gonna, this is so simple. I mean, oops, all you need to do is just under halfway, about actually, if you divide the page into thirds, about a third of the way up, maybe a little higher, depends how you like it. But you never want to go divide the paper exactly in half, which you probably know. And back here, we're just going to do a simple background. Maybe there's trees, and then it kind of goes down to the beach here. And along here, we're going to have, you know, the shoreline. And up on top, I always put in a few birds. You want to just put those in randomly. And you don't have to put them in now either. They can be later. And Emily has the drawing already drawn out for her, and it's taped on her board, so she can just start thinking about mixing her colors. Oops. Elliot, are you with us as well? I'm curious. I went for a quick bike ride, so I'm thirsty. And it's kind of warm out. It's really nice though, although it looks like it might start raining. It's a little humid. It's kind of cloudy. What's funny is last time when I was streaming on Twitch, I heard this thunderous kind of boom, and I had my shades closed, so I couldn't see what was going on, but I knew it was a sunny day and it wasn't raining. And it turned out, Paulina, that boom sound was my neighbor's tree crashing down onto her house. And I had to stop the stream because Joe came in and told me that the neighbors had a tree fall on their house. So, Paulina, you were in the stream that day. And in fact, the tree was about 3 foot, at least 3, maybe 4 foot around, that came down and crashed into this lady's house. And I won't say who it is, but it was unbelievable. I mean, no wonder it made such a huge crashing noise. It crashed on the roof and broke through a few windows and made a big mess. You remember, Paulina? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, well, let's start. Oh, here we've got Elliot on here. She says, thank you. Yes, good. I wonder if she got on. Yeah, everybody's okay. They were not hurt by the tree, fortunately. That would be bad. So to start this little watercolor, you want to find your cerulean blue, and it looks like I mixed a little cerulean, and to that I may have added a little bit of the alizarin crimson. Now, Emily, the alizarin crimson, I don't remember exactly. You should take your brush and get it wet, and just on your sketchbook or a scrap piece of paper, you can just take your brush and dip it in your colors and go across your palette and see what you've got on there. This kind of bright pinky red is alizarin crimson, and that's what I'm using. And then also this is cerulean blue, and this is ultramarine, okay, the dark one. And then this one here is cobalt. So all you have to worry about right now is finding a kind of a red like this, and whatever red you have is fine, don't worry about it, and the cerulean blue. And then you can also mix a little bit of ultramarine with the alizarin, and that's going to give you kind of a purpley mix, which is what I have in the sky along with the cerulean blue. And that makes a nice kind of mixture like this. And if you want, you can add a little of the this other blue, which is a turquoise, but don't worry about it if you don't have it or can't find it. Okay, and we're going to just do a loose sky like that, starting maybe darker on the top and then coming down to a little bit less color near the horizon. And we'll paint around this shape. We're going to put underneath that just the tiniest bit of a warm yellow ochreish color. So I want to see if Elliot is on. So Emily, I don't expect you to talk and paint at the same time, but I hope I'm going slow enough for you to follow. You want to just take a brush that's large enough. I mean, this painting is really small. It's like 5 by 7, but you want to just take a brush that's large enough. This is a size 10 to make sure you have plenty of water on the brush. And you can almost just pre-wet your sky a little bit by running your brush across it here and there. You can even, if you want, drop a few droplets on there of water just in the sky part, and then start brushing in your color randomly. You can really just do whatever you want in the sky. And just leave it a tiny bit wet along that tree line. And keep going across your page, varying the colors and the shapes. And you can leave some little white spots if you want around certain things. And then one thing I like to do sometimes is add a little warmth here and there. So just pick up a tiny bit of yellow ochre, yellow, whatever you've got, a very thin down color of something, and drop it in there. You could use like a burnt sienna, just for a little bit of warmth. Don't add too much water though, like I just did. That's okay. I'm just going to add a little more color because I like my paintings with a lot more. So I'm adding just that same mix of blue with red, alizarin crimson. And that's giving me a fun kind of a look. that I'm going to stick with. And as I get towards this bottom edge, I'll thin it out and just run it across there like that. And I kind of like that, so I think I'll just leave it. Today, Paulina, this is a size 10 silver black velvet brush. And then I also have an 8 and a 6. And then I have a liner. And that's all you really need. I mean, you could really do the whole painting with this size 10 brush if that's the only one you had. And don't worry if it has issues. Your painting, you can always leave, you can comment, or you can leave a message in the comments, and I can try and give you some assistance. Now I'm going to tackle this where this hillside is, and I want to mix up a very light color of just a hint of kind of a warm background color, and I want it really, really light. So I just used a tiny bit of burnt sienna mixed with the yellow ochre, but you could also just leave it you could just leave it white and not worry about it, and just start with your green when you want to, but I'll just leave it there like that. And I'll come down into the beachy area here. Let's go ahead and do the water first. So mix up your cerulean again, and to that maybe just a little bit of ultramarine. And just touch that along the distance, in the distance there. And you can also leave some white marks in there. I'm going to add a little bit more cerulean to that, and maybe just a tiny bit of this viridian green. I like to vary the color there. Along the edge, catch it with a damp brush and just sweep it along the coast. And then just keep it going. And I'll leave a few white marks here and there. And before that dries off too much along the edge, I like to go ahead and add my beach color onto there, which is again just that real light, and I bring it right up into the ocean. No, don't wait for the sky to dry before you paint the water. Just leave, you can go right up to the edge of the sky. If it blooms there a little bit, I don't mind. And put that like that. I'll show you in the... So do you see how it backwashed into the sky there a little bit? Because the sky was still damp, and when it's damp it acts like a sponge and it kind of sucks the more wet area into the dry area, and it pulls the paint up with it, and it causes a little bloom. But I kind of like that. If you don't like that, then just don't touch that wet edge in the sky. See here, it kind of did it a little bit. I don't think you could see that when I held it up. I'm not sure I had it over far enough. Maybe I did. But right here is like a little bloom along the edge. Oh, Elliot's using Lloyd's iPad. Okay, she says hello. On the iPad, to use the chat, there is... Paulina, how do you do that when you're on the iPad and you want to chat when you're in YouTube? Do you know how? There's a way that you can do that. And I forget what it is. I think you just have to be in the app, in the YouTube app, instead of on the, instead of just going to the page. I think you have to sign, yeah, you have to sign into the YouTube app, because I don't think it'll let you chat unless they know who you are. Well, not that they know who you are, but that they want to make sure you're legit, I think. Not positive, but somebody probably knows. Oh, you don't know that, Paulina. Yeah, I think that's the way it is. I should find out for sure one of these days. This is drying up really nicely, so I hope you're all... How's it going, Emily? Are you having good luck? Yeah, so I'll just read your comments here from my text, Elliot, so that everybody, you can I'll read all the comments so everybody knows what's going on. There's a million ways to do skies, by the way, and the best practice is to just practice. And there's lots of different tutorials everywhere. And you know, the sky's the limit on doing skies. Let's just say that. Nope, but you're trying, Emily. Emily says nope, but she's trying. Well, don't worry, Emily. And just remember to keep a little practice sheet next to your painting so that you can go ahead and test colors and look at colors, and you know, you can put them down. This is the yellow ochre. And you know, some of them you may not be that familiar with. And I'm not sure if you have this one on your palette because I don't remember what I gave you. This is, you know, that turquoise color. And this is the cerulean blue. This is the turquoise. This is the cerulean blue here. And this is the burnt sienna that I'm dipping into. So you can see when you mix, you know, when you take a little bit of your yellow ochre and a little bit of your burnt sienna, you can get a really nice little color, a mix of, you know, it kind of neutralizes them both out, and so it makes another color for you to work with that's not straight out of the tube. Okay. How are you doing, Elliot? All right, so this is not quite dry, but it's dry enough for us to start maybe on the next part. So as far as the greens go for the trees in the background, I think the easiest thing for you all to do is just mix up a little bit of your cobalt blue with some lemon yellow, just a tad of that, and maybe just a tiny bit of burnt sienna, or you could use so yellow ochre, cobalt, and if you have a little bit of burnt sienna, or you could mix, so that'll give you something like this. You might want to make it a little darker. And to vary it while you're painting back there, you can go ahead and add in a tiny bit of ultramarine to vary that up. And you can also take your yellow ochre and tone parts of it down if you want. Or you can use more of the lemony yellow. And some cobalt. That's a little bit too yellowy green for me, so I like to break it up with some burnt sienna. Whatever you do, just don't take a color straight out of the tube and put it back there. Have some variety. So you can play with it. The key is, for beginners, is they tend to want to use a brush that's too small, and they also tend to want to keep painting over it and over it and over and over it. It's like once you lay it in there, leave it be. I mean, you can take a damp brush to the edges and soften things up, but don't keep going back over what you've already painted. And here I would generally go from left to right and finish that area and then let it be. So this is on my scrap piece of paper. So now we'll go ahead and do it on the actual painting. So again, I'm just mixing up some cobalt with a little bit of that lemon yellow. And I want to gray down that green. Well, you can really make it however you want it. But it's a little bit too bright for me, so I like to add just a little bit of burnt sienna. And here you can see the cobalt with the yellow, the light yellow, lemon yellow, whatever you have for your cool, it's a cool yellow, and the green. I mean, it makes green with the cobalt, and then as you add your yellow and cobalt together, you get this. And then if you add just a tiny bit of burnt sienna, it'll vary it down to a nice sort of warm green color. Now I tell you, oh no, what did you miss? Oh, you did it on your painting? That's okay. That's all right. No worries. Now I tell you. Well, anyway, so here's the mix of kind of your light yellow with a little bit of cobalt and a tiny bit of burnt sienna. I'll mix it up again, and that gives me this nice sort of warm greenish. Now when you put it in here, just use the tip of your brush and let that skip along the edge. And you can also leave some gaps for some light areas to show through on this hillside. And to this I want to add, I'm picking up just some leftover of that purplish mix on the right side of my palette there that I used in the sky. I mean, it just has the tiniest bit of ultramarine, okay, and alizarin crimson, and it's just grayed down slightly. It's kind of like using a little bit of the grayed leftover stuff that's on your palette. And some people keep their palettes super, super clean, but I like to use the leftovers to gray down my mixes and to blend them in. To vary what's going on in the painting. As I get down towards the right side of this little hillside, I might try to have that be a little bit more lemony yellow. And this is, you know, you can look at the painting afterwards, and you may not get it right the first time, but you'll know for next time, you'll have a good idea what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve. So you're just using the tip of the brush, skipping it along the edge here, and trying to make some interesting shapes. I may even sprout a few little palm trees up there or something, but you can think about going from warm to cool. And as you go down here on your other side, you can skip and leave little patches of white. Maybe there's a few little houses back there. And as you come towards the shoreline or the bottom of this hill, you can darken it up. Just start adding a tiny bit of burnt sienna to the mix and dropping that in here and there. Okay, like I'm doing. Let me go back to my chat here with Elliot. Make sure she's doing okay. And let's go ahead with my red on here. So I'm picking up a tiny bit of red while this is still, and use whatever red you have there, Elliot, just a tad, not on a hugely damp brush. You just want to, while this is wet, drop in a little bit of red here and there for variety back along that hillside. I don't think I've made that shape super interesting, so I may just try to get like a little bit more variety on the top there. Maybe there are some palm trees or something sticking up. That helps it. And I think, you know, before this totally dries, I can add a little bit more value back here in this area where, so I'm just dropping in a tiny bit more of this sort of greenish mix. And I can see that it's picking up on my palette. I have a little bit of this, it's like a cad yellow deep or a Hansa yellow. It looks like an orangey yellow. And that got mixed in because I have a dollop of it on my palette. So that makes a really interesting kind of a army green color when you mix it with cobalt. Emily needs a glass of wine. Get the little bell and ring it, and then tell Jerry to bring the wine. Okay, so this is the army green color right here that I just mixed up. And this is, let me get it off my palette here. This is this kind of cadmium yellow deep, or Hansa yellow, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we'll just let this sit here for a minute. And it's time for everybody to take a drink break. Grab yourself a sip of whatever you want. And we'll take a minute. I'll put some more ice in my glass. Emily, just tell Jerry, get some wine for you. How's everybody doing? Paulina, are you still with us? I've got another club soda here. Paulina says, Emily, do you manage to leave white spots on the painting? You know, it's hard at first because you're thinking about the drawing, the painting, the colors, the brush, the water, and it's really hard to remember to save some white spots, but that'll come. Emily, we'll get you some lessons. That'll come with just practice. Just practice on your, you know, on a scrap piece of trying to just paint around things. That's called, you know, negative painting. Like, you know, here's a house shape. So, you know, save the whites, right? So when your brush skips along, just leave some random places that are not painted as you're going. I did say this is beginning watercolor, right? You all are going to be just fine. I know you can do it. Let's see if Elliot's chatting with us. She must be really concentrating. Okay. Emily, you have white spots. It was okay. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. Does everybody have a beverage now? And we can, cheers everyone. We can continue on. I keep looking over on to the right at my other computer because I get a better view of what I'm doing over there. So if you see me looking off to the right, that's what I'm doing. I guess I should move the computer to in front of me, but then it would be too far away. We'll see. Cheers, Paulina. What do we say? We say na zdrowie. Na zdrowie, I think. Okay, so let's keep going. Now we're going to work on this part that's a little bit of shoreline. And in this one, you know, I did it, this sort of purplish stuff. That's completely imagined. It's supposed to kind of signify the shadows along the shoreline. And you know, I just made it with this purplish color that kind of goes with the sky. So that is artistic license, and you can do whatever you want. You think yours is abstract? That's perfect. That's perfect, Emily. How's it looking? That's a crack up. Okay, good. Well, mine's abstract too. Actually, mine's very atmospheric and soft and impressionistic, I think. So that's good. You're doing good. So we're going to mix up. This is where it kind of gets interesting because you sort of drop in things here and there just to make it, you know, not look plastered on but random. So in this case, I'm probably going to mix up, you know, some alizarin crimson and some ultramarine right here to get that sort of shadowy color that I used previously. And along with that, I may take a little bit of either raw sienna, okay, or a little bit of yellow ochre, and maybe a little bit of burnt sienna to try to make just a warm neutral color that I can skip and jump along the beach here it'll also mix up against the shadowy purple color. Emily says it's not good. Well, don't destroy it, Emily, because I'd like to have a look at it before, you know, so like don't destroy it, because I can look at it and tell you how to do, you know, what went wrong and how to do it differently next time. Excuse me. Okay, so all right, well, let's go ahead and do this shoreline. So we'll take a little bit of I guess we'll start with a little bit of this purplish mix. And I'm not sure how dark I want it, so I'll mix up a little bit more, some darker and some lighter. That's really dark. Ooh. You don't need much of this. I'll just thin it out. This is kind of a high key painting. I mean, it's more light than it is. It's not dramatic with darks. If I start adding super darks into here, then I may have to adjust the other values, and I don't really want to go back into here. So I want to keep it kind of light and not super shadowy. So let's just try this. This is about what I want. And in some areas, I may add to that a little bit more here and there. So we're looking at a really nice mid-value color. And I think I might even take my spritzer bottle. If you don't have a spritzer bottle, don't worry. Just take a brush, get it wet, dampen it off, and we're just gonna get our paper wet here as if we were painting shadows, just to give it a little bit of life so that we don't get dry edges. So go ahead and just brush in some shadow shapes here along the beach. And now I want to add to that, while that's wet there, whoa, that got a little bit dark. A little bit here and there. And as you get to this edge close to you, you can blur it out. Just add more water and soften it up. You can adjust by adding a little bit more to what you've already put in there. And this is kind of, your own personal, what you like, and just adjusting and adding as you go to make it read the way you want. And after you paint that in, you can soften a few edges. To give a suggestion of the shoreline, how you like it. And as you come into the beach area here, Paulina, you're quiet, you must be painting. This is where I'm going to take a little bit of that warm neutral brownish ochre-ish color and maybe start adding in a few little spots to indicate the beach, the sand. A little bit here and there. Just a tad of that. And then to make some darks for these rocks that are on the beach, that's when you need your burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. And you just want to add a hint of those here and there. It's nice that this purple is still wet because you can add it and it'll diffuse and you get some interesting random marks there. And over here along the water, because it's not wet, you're going to have to soften that edge after you add a mark on there to get kind of that watery look and a little reflection going on. And a little bit of burnt sienna there looks nice. More burnt sienna than ultramarine. Too dark. You can do little dots, dashes, just little bits of things that indicate the kind of seaweed and debris and things you see along the beach. And after you do it, like, let it be. Not good. It's okay, Emily. It's your first one. Don't worry. And to those rocks, you can soften the bottom edge and create a reflection or a shadow underneath there. Paulina, how is yours going? And I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of that warm color and just add it a little bit here and there to the top of these rocks on one edge. I'm sniffling. I'm sorry if you're hearing that. I am, it's allergies because I went outside for my little bike ride and I must have run into some pollen. It is pollen season here for sure. Spring, everything's blooming. And I'm just adding a little bit of this, this cad red right here to my yellow ochre or raw sienna, whatever you have. And I'm just suggesting a few little roof lines back here in the distance for some variety. And maybe I put a little bit of that color along the rocks too. Just a little. Not all of them, some of them. Always do things in random. Let me get a tissue, my nose is running. Ooh. Oh, I didn't realize the sun is coming over my palette, so let me close my shade. Sorry about that. Paulina says, mine is better than last time. The sky is pretty nice, the rest not so much yet. Okay, good. Yeah, if you notice the sun coming in the afternoon, let me know. I keep my shade open until it's annoying, but I didn't know. Look at all those shadows on my page. Sorry about that. Okay. And I think to draw the eye in, I will add a little bit more dark in this area back here where I have something going on. So I'll just take a little ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and suggest a couple of darks. Whoops, I didn't like that. Let's get a darker burnt sienna color. I just scratched that with my fingernail because it was a little heavy looking and not the right color I wanted. I wanted more of a warm, dark. So, and I want it kind of random here and there. There we go. Emily's signing out. She's had it. Okay, Emily, have a good evening. Don't forget, I want to see your painting. As your painting dries, you can add, more little details and things here and there as you see necessary to make the painting. And so here I notice along the sand and the beach that we could use a little bit more. So I'm just adding a few dry brush marks that I can soften and manipulate until I have the detail that I want along the beach. I'm warming it up a little bit. And dragging the brush here and there. And then, where's my... Carolyn, I want more of warm dark color over here. Me, I want to paint a straight line. Oh, yeah, I know. So what you can do is with that straight line is just take your damp brush and move and go like this and touch the edge, and it will soften it up. And then you can play with it and manipulate it. You can even add into that a little more shadow color here and there if you want. Same thing with this area where you have shadows already. There's nothing wrong with adding a little line work to add a little more detail if you want. So yeah, you can soften it and play with it a little bit until you get the effect that you want. The thing is you can't go back like a million times with multiple colors, or you'll just kind of end up with a muddy mess. But you can put in, if you haven't gotten it, you can always glaze over with another color once it's dry. And this area over here was not totally dry, but pretty dry when I added that warm color. Thanks, but no. Bye, y'all. Yes, I need to see your painting, Emily. Okay, so as far as these birds are concerned, we're just going to mix up a dark and put those in there. Maybe lean them a little more towards blue then. It doesn't really matter, but a grayish dark back there. Okay. Can add a tiny bit of splatter there along the skyline. And there's lots of things you can do to disperse if you want kind of some texture on the beach. You know, you can splatter in little bits like that. And you can play with those as you like. Yellow ochre and raw sienna. And if you want even more texture, I mean, you can scrape your fingernail along the edge. Hey, Elliot. Oh, you're still hanging with us. I think Emily she gave up at this point, but she hung in there for an hour. That's good. And you can scrape your finger along these sort of to make texture and random shapes along the beach here. And you know, the foreground of your painting can be very soft and abstract, or you can add detail there. It just depends what you want to emphasize. And I think right here, as you come into the painting along the beach, adding this warm color here will kind of bring you in and down the beach and then back up the hillside to the birds maybe. And in this painting, the beach itself, the ocean here, is sort of one gradual wash from maybe more of a violety blue to a lighter cerulean warm blue. But it doesn't really have any texture of waves or anything. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a little bit of blue and maybe mix that with a tiny bit of that red. So I think I'll take an ultramarine and just mix it with, you can see over here on the side of my palette, just the tiniest bit of this mix, and kind of get it watered down. I'm just gonna scumble along the ocean here. A few waves, a little bit of wave action. And you can pull your brush through that to get a little bit of dry brush going, just for a little variety on the surface of the water there. And if you sort of make it in the shape of a, you know, like a little swoop, a curved little shape. I hope I didn't overdo it, but you can, that one line bothers me, but you can just add what you like. A little bit here and there, especially in the distance there. I like a little darker value. A few little random wave shapes there. Maybe not so much in the foreground. You can just blot it with your paper towel. And I kind of like that, so I may just leave it there before I ruin things. Just one little thing there. If you have a little bit of this teal, you can let that settle in there on top of the darker blue you mixed up that's already in there, and just let it be. You can touch it with a damp brush to make it move and disperse a little bit if you want. It's water after all, so, and you can drag your brush through it. If you feel like your line is too straight and you want it more random, just brush through it with a damp brush and pull it to break it up a little. I feel like I want one more little random thing down here. These three things here in a row, I'm going to have to eliminate. You don't want 3 dots in a row. Not there. Okay. All right, I'm going to let that dry before I mess it up totally. And just... You want... Okay, so... Does anyone have any questions? How are we doing? Check my chat here. I'm going to sign my painting with you know, I may do a couple little more dark marks here along my, just a few dots in the foreground here to sharpen up a little bit of this stuff on the beach. And whoops, I'm just dragging my brush along, adding a little dry brush, and that detail up front gives you the illusion of this stuff is closer to you, and I think we'll leave it like that. Maybe a little dry brush back here. I'm afraid my birds don't look very good this time. This one's a little heavy, so I'm just going to blot it with a dot of water, and then excellent, Chris. Yay! Christopher's just announced one of his grades to me, so he's happy about that. So I'm just dotting these little birds here with a little bit of water. This one got a little heavy, and if I just dot it with water, it softens it, and then I can lift up a little bit of that color off of there. And so I think what I'll do is sign it now. Paulina, how did I get the grayish sea color? Do you mean where I just added it? I added a little bit of the same colors that we used in the sky. So I just took a little bit of the ultramarine blue, and I mixed it in with a tiny bit of the alizarin crimson, and I just played with it until I got a color a little more blue that that's deep, like a deep blue like this right here that I'm mixing, and I'll show you. it looks like a, you know, kind of a purpley blue. And I can even dip my, so kind of like this, to add that deeper kind of like waves in the ocean back there. So it's on top of what's already there, which is, you know, this color. So that's how you end up with one color on top of the other, like that. It grays it down. And I added a little bit of this turquoise. You can add that into it to get, you know, a little variation, a little highlight color on some of that oceany looking, the waves back there. So that's all I did. And sometimes if you know, make your mark like a swoop, a small swoop in this case, it'll look like a little bit of a wave. I hope that makes sense. Oh, the thickly painted bird, what I did was, he was a little too thick. I didn't like him, and I wanted him to look more soft in the distance. They were all looking too much like they're coming forward. So just take a clear, clean brush, dampen it off, and then just touch the bird with that. And you can just loosen up that paint a tiny bit, and then blot it real firmly with a tissue. And you'll pull up enough color to push that bird back into the distance. Again, I'll do it on this one. So just touch it with a tiny bit of water, and then let it it'll just disrupt that paint a little bit, and then pick it up. This one too is still kind of, he's a big bird. Just lift him up a little bit. You can't really mess around with it too much because you'll disturb the wash around it, and then it might end up looking funny or taking out too much pigment around the bird. But in this case, I think it's okay. So now they don't all look like they're jumping out at you. So maybe I added too much. My mixture was a little too dark with burnt sienna and ultramarine on there. I understood what you meant, Paulina, with the thickly painted bird. I gotcha. So anyway, let me go ahead and just sign this little demo. And I think, again, I'll sign it with a purpley kind of a mix. I like that. Whoa, that got heavy. There we go. Little dots and dashes here and there. Just adding a few little darks to the background there. And that's just little random dots and dashes. I may even put a little bit of warmth back here on the hillside just to tie that into the foreground. This add a little splatter, Paulina, with your brush, with a small brush. Just load it up with a little yellow ochre and raw sienna. And add a little splatter there along the beach. And if you want, you can drag your brush along and just make a little bit of dry brush. To get your eye moving along that direction. And you can scratch through it. You can, disrupt that line. If the line bothers you, disrupt it by scratching through it before it dries completely. And that kind of takes you along the beach there. You'll know when you've done too much because you'll go, oh, I shouldn't have done that last stroke. It looked better before. But sometimes you don't know until you've overdone it. I think I'll take the tape off of this. And I feel like I want just one more little, since your eye's taking you back to this point back here where it's beautiful, maybe I need a little something, some eye candy back there for you to look at. So I might add just a little red, a little red eye candy near the center of interest where this beach is leading you to. And I'm gonna just put in a little red roof and maybe a dot here and there. And that's it. I said that's it, and then I'm going in with a little bit of the cobalt too for a little detail, a little more eye candy. Now that really is it. And let's take the tape off and see how we've done. And Paulina, if you have Discord, if you use Discord, or you want to share your painting with me, I'd love to see how you're doing. And you can download the Discord app, and then I can give you the link to my Discord, and then you can post your paintings up there for me to see. I have to open Discord and go there to do that. Or Paulina, if you want to send me an email through my social media, you can send me an email, and you can also email me your images. This looks nice. I'll show you a close-up how we're doing. So another simple little beach scene. I have to look over at my other computer to see. if I'm holding this in the right place for you to see it. I guess I am. There's about a 20 to 30 second lag time. There we go. So, I guess I could hold it over here a little more even. More towards my palette, right? There we go. Oh, I really have to put it like almost under all the way over to the right. And I'll just hold it here so you can get a good look at it, because I know it's hard when you're starting out to see what's going on. You're welcome, Paulina. Very useful and interesting tutorial. Thank you. My computer's running slow, so I don't really want to open Discord right now. But I think I can send you an invite, or you can send me an invite on Discord, and then we can share paintings there. So I wonder how Elliot's doing. Elliot, are you doing okay? She's texting me on my phone. So anyway, I'll pull that down a little bit. I was going to do another one today, but I don't know. I think maybe that might be enough for one day, and I'll continue with the next one next time. It's kind of the same vein. Another seascape, and I'll hold it here so you can see it. Wait for my stream to stop lagging. There we go. And this one I did in Honolulu. And so it's looking towards the, I guess, let's see. I'm not sure which way the island is. I would say that's south. West is over here where the sun sets. So I think that's south. Down Waikiki Beach, away from the volcano. What do they call that thing? I forget. But anyway, maybe we'll do this one next time. Yeah. And Paulina, if there's anything else that, any comments you want to make in the comments, anything that you think would help for you to learn that I could do, just let me know. I don't know how easy it is over this, this kind of tutorial. But hopefully if you can see it close enough, and if I go slow enough, that you can paint along. All right, well, I think I'm going to sign off. It's been about an hour and a half, and we'll go see how we're doing with the news and the coronavirus. Ugh, I don't know if I want to know. I know we're doing pretty well. I think that the social distancing is having a good effect at slowing it down. The next one, Paulina, I am scheduled on I think Twitch on Thursday. So Thursday at 3 and then Sunday. So Sketchbook Sunday is on Sunday, Tutorial Tuesday, and then Thursday's Twitch. So yeah, if you're available on Thursday on Twitch, that's fine. I may Twitch tomorrow for a little while if I can, or on Friday, because I think we're supposed to be getting some rain. So if it's rainy out, I may decide to just jump on Twitch, and in that case, I think you get a notification if you subscribe to the, well, not subscribe, but if you follow my channel on Twitch. So anyway. All right, well, everybody have a good night. Cheers to Elliot and Emily and Paulina, and we will talk to you guys later. Until Thursday.